Okay, so my name is Sarah, and I'm going to be telling you about world conflicts. World conflicts such as war and terrorism. Countries that are currently in war are India, Iraq, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. India, Christians that live there are attacked regularly by militant Hindu extremists. Iraq in 2014, a new extremist group invaded the country whose goal was to create a caliphate, and the religions is now controlling large areas in Iraq and Syria. So, Iraq and Syria are both in war. Um, Pakistan has low-leveled mutual attacks overlooked by Taliban. Afghanistan has Osama bin Laden headed in this country were protected by and interrogated with Taliban in this country dictatorship, Northern Alliance of the rebel Afghans, Britain and the U.S. attacked the Taliban and the Ali Kuwait. So those are fighting countries. This is a map of world conflict in 2012. As you can see, the blue is conflict that are currently engaged, so like countries that have ongoing conflict. You can see Mexico, Colombia, India, Iraq. The light blue have high tension, so they're not currently in war, but they do have high tension. You can see drug trafficking with the little money sign that you can see high in Mexico. Insurgency you can see on the side of Ecuador and Brazil. You can also see that in Congo and Uganda. Insurgency is a rebellion against authority. You can see piracy all around the globe, and ground warfare is in Egypt. So, war on terror. Terrorism is the use of violence and intimidation in pursuit of political aims. So, countries with most fatalities from terror attacks, you can see that highly in Iraq, and Pakistan, and Afghanistan. When people think of terrorism, they think of the Middle East, which is true, but many terrorist places are all around the world, and you don't really think of that being terroristic like all around the world, and they're just the ones that you see on the news, such as Paris recently. So terrorism could be brought by many religious groups and extremists, so it's not just like Afghanistan, Pakistan. So ISIS now. The northern Syrian cities estimated about 3,500,000 people are gripped by fear because by how powerful Russian and French airstrikes that shake the city. Yeah. I'm going to show you a video, maybe. You can also see the fear in Syria that many Syrian cities are living every day in constant fear because of how powerful these people are. So, okay, so now I'm going to show you a video. This is about the Iraq war and ISIS in Syria. So.
Just when you thought the Iraq problem was solved because you hadn't heard about it for a while, everything's back to murderous chaos and terror. What happened? In 2003, the US invaded Iraq because of its alleged connections to terrorism and weapons of mass destruction. At the time, Saddam Hussein, a brutal dictator, ruled the country. He was part of the Sunni minority and suppressed the Shia majority. Iraq was conquered fairly quickly, but the US had no plan for the country. The until then suppressed Shia majority took over and began oppressing the Sunnis because suppressing other faiths has proven to be such a good idea. Unsurprisingly, a Sunni rebel uprising began, and terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda trickled into Iraq, and local forces, often former Sunni military, began fighting the US troops and the newly formed Iraqi state, peaking in a bloody civil war in 2006. Since then, people in Iraq have basically been segregated by religion. So, in a tragic irony of history, the US invasion led to the formation of the very terrorists the US wanted to eliminate in the first place, because Iraq was now the perfect training ground for terrorism. To understand this complicated conflict better, we need to understand the relationship between the two main branches of the Muslim faith, Shia and Sunni Islam. Sunnis make up about 80% of the Muslim world.
Okay, you can see that trying to stop the war sometimes engages the war even more. So by trying to stop them, we just create more terrorist groups.
And Shia about 20%. And the hardliners at Assad didn't think much of resigning and started a gruesome civil war against his own people. The longer the war went on, the more foreign groups joined.
And I'm going to tell you about Syria now.
The fight, most of them for religious reasons and with the goal of building an Islamic State in the region. And one of them was the infamous ISI, which now became the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, or ISIS. They had fought in Iraq for years and had thousands of well-trained and fanatic soldiers. They already quasi-controlled parts of northern Iraq and were very determined to build their religious state. And they changed the game in Syria like no one expected. ISIS was so unbelievably violent and radical that soon it was at war with almost every other faction of the Syrian rebel armies. They attacked and killed members of other Muslim terrorist groups. In the territories they controlled, they built an Islamic State with rules so strict that even the hardliners of Al-Qaeda and Saudi Arabia were shocked.
Okay, so I hope you learned a little bit about world conflicts. That's all. Oh, and thanks for watching.